Welcome to the Boyd Autobody and Glass, Three Keys to the Game. I'm Ed Tait from BlueBombers.com, joined as always by the lovely and talented Derek Taylor of CJOB.
That's the crossbar, Ed. That's the crossbar from the 19 West Final. Amazing.
Here at lovely Mosaic Stadium, where there's some still very vivid memories for Derek Taylor.
Fajardo off the crossbar.
2019 Western Final. Yes, that game's in the rearview mirror. We've got Riders home opener. Both teams 1-0 heading into this one. Let's start right away by looking at the Bombers' O-line and the matchup they might get Friday against the Riders.
Yeah, I thought the Bombers' offensive line played real well this past week. I'd counted 5 quarterback pressures at most, which Zach Collaros had no problem dealing with. And particularly Stanley Bryan, Jamarcus Hardrick, I thought excellent as you'd expect from him. In my book, the best left and right tackles in the league. Their challenge this week is Anthony Lanier. He was a defensive tackle, the Saskatchewan, popping out to defensive end, but he will play anywhere along that defensive line, and he is a monster. He is a monster. Pete Robertson on the other edge is more built like a defensive end in the CFL. He's no slouch. Let's not kid ourselves. But those two guys, it's going to be a challenge. And, I mean, if they do get pressure on Collaros, it just happens that there's no better quarterback at keeping pressure from turning into sacks than Zach. So certainly something to be worth watching, but not something I would worry about, despite Lanier's greatness.
Right. You know, we're not sure whether it's going to be Trevor Harris or Mason Fine on Friday because the depth chart came out today and it's a GTD beside Trevor Harris for game time decision. But in any case, Bo Levi Mitchell showed some things last week potentially against the Bombers secondary that you want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, the Hamilton offense didn't score many points at all, right? They got 1 touchdown that was from the 2-yard line because of a turnover. They got some field goals, blah, blah, blah. They had 1 really good drive. But what we saw was they had the ability to get receivers in behind Bombers defensive backs. I think of Tim White slipping behind one, and whether it was Bayless or Godwin who got in behind him. Oh, thank goodness Bo overshot that one by 5 yards. If Harris or Fine is able to hit those balls, we're going to be speaking differently about it in my mind. Richie Hall, the defensive coordinator, said, that happens every game. We're not worried about it. In the booth, I'm going to be a little worried about it if, in this case, Sean Bain goes streaking past somebody, because that could end up in, I've seen 98-yard touchdowns on this field, and I certainly don't want to see one in this game.
The third and final key is, it was a bit of an anomaly last week with the Bombers and some special teams mistakes, and we got to keep an eye on that and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, we'll be watching to see it. Just know that it can't possibly happen again, right? Blocked punt for a touchdown. Gosh, what was it? Janarian Grant's fumble almost ends up in a touchdown. Then there was the weird Zach fumble that ends up in a touchdown. These things will not happen again all at the same time. Last week was such a fluke, this confluence of flukes, that it just can't happen again. That game maybe could have been 41-20. So, you know, clean some things up, make sure that Jamison Sheehan doesn't get one stuffed back in his face again in the end zone. But I am zero worried about that happening again, because will we see 2 touchdowns like that again against this Bombers team this season, much less in a single game? I can't imagine.
Right. It's always special, Bombers, Riders, whether it's Labor Day, Banjo Bowl, or home opener for the Riders. That is the Boyd Autobody and Glass, 3 keys to the game. For the lovely and talented Derek Taylor of CJOB, I'm Ed Tait from BlueBombers.com.
And that is the crossbar. Fajardo doinked in the end of the West Final in 19.